My boy's got his own ringtone. It's the only one I know. Dude, every song on the album is good.
Adventure Guys. Adventure Guys. Now it's time for Adventure Guys.
Hey, Adventure Guys, podcast for humans and dogs. I'm Eric the Human.
And I'm Nick the Human, and welcome to episode 10.
Double digits, baby!
We did it. We reached it. We reached a milestone.
Yeah! Yo, hey, thank you everyone for listening to this podcast. We did 10 entire episodes. That's cool.
Yeah.
I dig it.
I feel accomplished that we were
Hey, Nick.
doing it.
Nick.
Yeah.
Congratulations, buddy, on 10 episodes.
Congratulations to you. We did it.
Thanks.
I was reflecting on this today about 10 episodes, but also because this week has been one of the busiest weeks I've had in the last 2 years at work. Like, in my work at a record company, sometimes album releases shift around and these things happen. And, theoretically the company, they want to spread the workload around. So different people have, the same amount of work everywhere. But due to the nature of music and things moving all the time and everything being fluid and it's like a creative company, all of a sudden sometimes things can like this release that was supposed to happen in August is now happening in mid-October when this album was planned. And I'm also doing like all this stuff with voting and working with the company headcount. I'm just going to go ahead and assume anyone who's listening to this probably plans on voting and is registering to vote. But if you're not...
You have to vote. You're not allowed to listen to our podcast if you don't vote.
Yes. Thank you, Eric. And what I've been working on all week is producing a voter registration concert where if you register to vote at headcount.org/vote ready, you get in to see the Vote Ready Festival, which I have produced. This is coming out on Tuesday, which is the day we're announcing the festival. And I'm incredibly excited about it. Here's some of the artists who are on it. Favorite band, Portugal the Man, on the festival. Yeah. Wiz Khalifa, people like him. Electric Guest. Who are some other? Oh, Group Love. Ava Max, White Reaper. Do you know White Reaper, Eric?
I don't think so.
Judging off of the last Lightning Round theme song, you would like White Reaper because they're bringing some great guitar solos back, and are actually getting played on the radio, and they write really good rock songs. Jack Harlow. There's a bunch of good people who are taking part of it, and it's it started out. I didn't think it was thought 10 people were gonna be on it, and then all these artists were like, yeah, we want to be on it. But anyway. When I'm bringing this back around, because I've been staying up working till 1 or 2 in the morning. But when these times hit me every year or a couple years or whatever, typically I put my life on hold to see through these insane projects I have now undertaken. And I put everything to the side. And all of a sudden I'm I haven't played music in a month and a half, which is kind of what's happening right now. And I'm oh, I haven't seen my friends in a while, and God, I've been eating like shit, and everything falls apart because I'm just trying to take care of it. I imagine it's similar when you're trying to finish a record or you're on tour or something, and you're for others it might be akin to when you're in college and you're just sort of studying all night to write a term paper or something, and but what didn't fall away was the podcast. We recorded during the midst of that, this is the third podcast, and while I was moving, and my life has been crazy, but we've kept doing this, and that is great. It means it's a good project. It means that in the face of this, if it's kept going to this point, it's gonna keep going. I don't know. It makes me happy. So thank you.
I think
Eric.
we're going someplace good with this podcast.
Yeah. Thank you for you, Eric. As we've talked about, makes all the music, and produces this thing. So it would have fallen by the wayside for a couple weeks had it not been for you. So thank you.
Oh. I do want to try a couple new things on this episode.
Oh, yes.
I think we might try and run an ad for the first time. Hopefully y'all don't think we're sellouts for running an ad.
No.
I mean, you can think we're sellouts for other reasons.
Yeah.
Just huge freaking posers. That's us. But
my corporate rock festival that I'm putting on for a good cause. We're using our platform for good, but yeah.
But I think this particular ad that we can run will make 1.5 cents every time someone listens to it. So, like, for instance, I think if we had been running ads this entire time that we've been putting out these episodes, we would have made like $4 by now.
Oh, damn. All right. Yeah, let's get going.
We do have a new option to financially support this podcast. It's on our Anchor page for the podcast, anchor.fm. Do we have a URL for it? I don't know. Our links are everywhere on our, if you're listening to our podcast, you probably know how to get to our links.
It's in the episode description.
Yeah. There's a button to support this podcast, and you can pay like $1 a month, or $2 a month, or however many dollars a month you want. And we are spending money on this podcast. We have started spending money. I think our net earnings on this podcast right now are negative $102.
Yeah, that sounds right. And it's just gonna keep going down, baby. Unless these ads start coming, or someone kicks us a shekel or two.
Yeah,
penny.
That is there.
Eric, how was your week? Were you crazy busy? Were you not busy?
Oh, man.
Are you finishing this project of yours?
I'm in a huge crunch to finish this final Holophonics cover album. Ooh. I'm so close. I have 2 things left to track tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like a guitar and bass thing. It should be easy. And then all the tracking is finished. And then I just need to finish up a few mixing things, and it will be probably completed on Monday. It's Friday night now.
Dude, can't wait to hear it.
Yo, this is a huge project. I can't say what it is yet, but I will say that it's 21 songs for this album.
I had no idea it was that ambitious of a project.
Yeah, which is why it's been driving me bonkers the past 3 months doing this. But it's almost finished, and then I'm going to play Pokemon and watch TV.
Yeah. And if you're too hyped and you need some ska in your life, go get Sunk Costs, the Holophonics 7-inch. I'm going to plug it for you so you don't feel weird about doing it.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Plug-a-palooza today. But, in the face of all this work and stress I've been facing, I did watch this Adventure Time episode, and I would love to talk about it.
Episode discussion.
I talked to a friend who sent us an email at didyousee-the-mail@gmail.com. Please email us. We love dialogue. And I got some feedback. People like the deep dive. Episode 1, I went deep. I went real deep. And multiple people and I backed off in the subsequent 9 episodes or 8 episodes. But I kind of want to go back to it. And in this episode, I got some good thoughts. I think it's a middle ground. I don't think I'm going too deep, but there's some cool stuff I think to say in this episode that's otherwise, kind of a nice little light romantic romp.
Yeah, romantic, sure. Yeah, so we watched season 2, episode 6, Slow Love. It's a Finn and Jake episode.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty characteristic of some of the early seasons where it's like Finn and Jake just being adventuring kind of dudes. They're just heroing around the land of Ooh, helping out people. And
yeah, and what's funny about it is which, Eric, I'm curious if this comes up later in the show, is that so they're playing with BMO, and then this snail crashes through their house and excretes this juice all over them, and they're like,
snail attack.
Yeah, they're gonna hit him with some salt, and then he goes, whoa, I came for your help. I heard you were heroes. And which is interesting to me because, yes, they must have a reputation in the land of Ooh, obviously. But their adventures, they don't seem to get like solicited for adventures like this all too much. Do they? Like, they're not like the Ghostbusters or something where people call them up and go, hey, please adventure with me.
Yeah, their status isn't like official.
Yeah.
I think it's more like word of mouth.
Okay.
Like there's a little bit of a network. Like Princess Bubblegum basically uses Finn and Jake as muscle for a lot of things.
Yeah. I mean, she seems to employ them the most, and they're more than game.
But I think they are in this sort of pursuit of heroism. I mean, Finn is only like 14, I guess, and he recognizes that he's on a journey to become a hero. And there are a few episodes here and there where he's, questing and has to overcome obstacles and puzzles and stuff like that to, further himself along this journey. One of the episodes that focuses on that I like from season 1, I think it's an early episode. I think it's season 1, episode 5, called The Enchiridion, where they get this book, The Enchiridion, which basically tells you how to be a hero. It's like a hero's guide, something like that.
Oh, I can't wait to watch that one.
So yeah, they have a little bit of a word of mouth reputation, like they're heroes in training, I guess.
Oh, cool. Well, I gotta say, I really like season 2. Like, this is the 3rd season 2 episode I think we've done. Sean's been binging season 2, not rage binging as I referenced. He's been responsibly binging the whole series, but season 2, honestly, is like a really nice kick up from season 1. Like, there's a noticeable uptick in quality and in depth in what they're doing. But it's not so far yet. It's a cool mix.
As with most long-running shows, I think season 2 tends to be a good one.
Yeah. Kind of the season where season 1 it's happening, they're figuring out, but then, like a lot of good, like Parks and Rec, where it's like, oh, The Office. Oh, okay. Season 2 is when it clicks and it starts becoming like the show we love.
Yeah.
And that's definitely happening. And it happened for me in this episode. It's like a really great thing. So the snail, does the snail have a name?
Snorlax.
Oh, yes. He says that, but he says it in such a gross way that I think it just slithered right out of my mind. Snorlax?
Snorlax, yeah. Snorlax is sort of the it's not a monster of the week format, but he's like the random character of the episode.
Yeah. So he comes in and he's all sad and he's asking for the help. He says he needs a girlfriend because he has nobody to love, and he's very sad, like just on the edge of breaking down at any moment. And because of that, these are two saps and, have some good empathy, Finn and Jake. So they agree to help him find a girlfriend.
Yeah. Snorlax is really direct about this, which it seems a little bit weird, but Finn and Jake are on board. So
in the true Adventure Time fashion, let's just get right to it. Let's not beat around the bush. Like, they just go right at everything. So then he continues to crawl through their house until it is now on his back like the shell of a snail, because he arrives with no shell, and that fact will come back later in the episode. So now I guess I would like to talk about the episode, not in painstaking detail, but go through it and talk about the episode and what it means to me a little bit. Now, this is not so deep as to like talking about like deep subtext, like in the season 2 episode 1, it came from the Nightosphere, where there was some deeper subtext and symbolism happening. This one's way more out in the open. But we go with Snorlax, right? That's his name. And his
Snorlax is a Pokemon.
It is
Snorlax.
Oh, Snorlax. Okay.
By the way, Snorlax voiced by Biz Markie.
Ah, love it. Oh, so when he beatboxes, it's like
exactly.
Oh,
that's his thing.
That's so great. So they go, and he goes to try to find some girls, and he asks like, how do I find girls? Like, how do I talk to girls? And Finn says, if you want to meet a lady, if you want to get a lady to like you, you just got to be yourself. And that seems really scary for this guy. And he goes immediately to talk to a girl snail who's got like a cute hat on her shell, and then as he comes over, she sucks in her gut and like pushes up her snail boobs, which made me feel weird, but also it's kind of cute.
This is the second episode in a row that we've watched that has weirdly sexual overtones to it.
Yeah, it's nice because it's real, but it's also weird because it's a cartoon. I don't know. It is kind of weird.
And it's a giant snail.
Yeah. That's probably what's most weird about it. And he goes over and he talks, and And then he like immediately starts losing it. He's like, and she's like, maybe you could come over. She's also very direct. Maybe this is just the snail and slug way. But she goes like, oh, this looks like a nice normal guy to talk to. And then she goes, you are nice. We should see a movie sometime. And then he immediately starts freaking out as Jake says, oh, he's got this in the bag. And then he starts like shaking. And she's like, I like old movies the best. Maybe you should take me to one. And he starts freaking out. He's shaking all around.
His freak out scream is one of the greatest sound effects from this episode.
Yeah. And he's like, girlfriend. And what I think that this character is going through is honestly the sort of trials that we all go through as we enter that age when we start to become interested in like a partner or like sexually awakened or like, you know what I mean? Or like, oh, okay, I'm going to go out and try to find a girlfriend or a boyfriend now. Like, okay, like let's go see what this is all about. And some people are confident out of the gate, but I think for a lot of people, you enter that arena and it's scary and you're scared of rejection and that ultimately you might not be good enough to attract a female. And this guy is obviously, he's sad, he's lonely, and he lacks some sort of self-esteem because, so this happens, he freaks out, and then Jake gets off the snail and like gets big for a second, goes, hey man, like you gotta like learn how to get that under control. Like you're freaking ladies out. Like, come on. And the first thing he says is, no, are you gonna leave me? Like, the first thing he thinks is like that he's not good and like these guys are going to abandon him, which really just gets at the snail's like main fear here, which is that he's not good enough to be loved, that even if he talks to a girl, she's just going to leave right away. Like deep insecurities is going. So to combat those insecurities, Jake is like, don't sweat it. I'm going to teach you how to talk to ladies, and starts teaching him some weird like pickup artist type stuff. Like he impersonates a female snail, tries to get Finn to talk to him. It's weird. It's gross. Then
everyone involved thinks it's weird.
Yeah, immediately it looks weird, and then it is a great delight because Finn immediately just goes ew when he turns into a snail. Then Jake is going to be the male snail and is like, Finn, you be the female, and then immediately he's like, you smell good. Like let me smell you, and it's like what? It's weird. And he's like, yeah, I want to mate with you. And then the real snail is like, can I mate with you? And he's like, no. Anyway, so he tries on this pickup artist shtick, goes and finds like a really nice snail girl, and immediately just botches it. It's just like, can I smell you? Do I smell cookies? And it's just like smelling her neck. And she's like, please never talk to me again.
Yeah.
So now that takes up, so like, okay, say you're the 13-year-old boy who's going to talk to girls. You try to talk to girls. It fails. You're scared. So then you try on your hyper masculine self. You get all pumped up and you're like, oh, hey, like I'm a meatheady guy. Probably not going to work because that never works. Then we enter phase 3, which is they're going to be like, okay, if you get a skill or a talent, that will attract the ladies. And they teach them music, and like, oh, first they get swords, and it's like, okay, if you like stab these swords around, okay, what if we try beatboxing? And then he does both, and he's swinging swords around, and we got Biz Marquee beatboxing, and now it actually kind of works, and it's attracting some girls.
I love this scene, how quick a learner he is, because it's one of those moments where you think they're setting him up for failure, and he immediately gets it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, so we're moving along.
Yeah.
He's great at it.
He's great. And I think, and it works, and it attracts girls, and they come, and there's like, now he's got like 10 snail girls dancing, grinding on him, and kissing his cheek, to the point where like Finn and Jake are now getting alarmed, and their house that's on the snail's back is getting destroyed by all the dancing. But before we go there, what's interesting is that he is good at it. And I think that is what kind of happens to some people when you're finding your identity in youth, and you go like, okay, I tried on one outfit, the hyper masculine like pickup arts guy, that didn't work. okay, maybe I'm more of an outside. Maybe I'm an art guy. Maybe I'm a music guy. Maybe I'm a sports guy. Whatever you try on your thing and try to find your talent to be accepted by other people and cover up that insecurity. And for him, it's wielding swords and beatboxing. But for a lot of people, it works, and then they just lean into it. I mean, I can identify that to a certain extent. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a weird music guy. Like that's my thing now. Like I play instruments, and my friends are in punk bands, and we go to see shows, and I collect records, and you find your identities, and it works. But at the end of the day, I'll keep going in the plot because it comes together. At the end of the day, the women he's attracting, once those skills fall away and it's not about the skills anymore, they all kind of, and what he's wearing, the house falls off, the shell falls off, and the women are immediately like, ew, you don't have a shell. And he's not doing the thing that they like anymore, and they're not into him. They were into the thing. They were into the dress up. They were into the costume, the concept of him. And it's only once he now sheds it, and now he's becoming a true, he's continuing this journey, and has now shed everything, is back to where he begins. And like Finn said at the beginning of the episode, he's just being himself, which it turns out is not a snail at all, but a slug because he doesn't have a shell. That he finds a slug girlfriend, and now he's truly happy for he has found somebody who's going to appreciate him for just who he was. And at the end of the day, that is truly what we want, and that is what the goal is. And when the slug Snorlax finds this girl, they can now sit outside the treehouse and make out while BMO plays really loud music and watches. And that's cool. That's like the true journey that I think we all want to get to and like kind of all go through, and we got to see it in 11 minutes through this sad snail's eyes.
Yeah, that's a good one. And the slug that he found, the slug girlfriend, was doing the same thing that he was doing, like putting on a front and trying to be someone she wasn't.
Yeah, she had a peppermint shell. Giant peppermint shell. Which makes you have to think. So
I suppose those are readily available with a Candy Kingdom, in the area.
But now does in the Candy Kingdom? Because I was thinking about that, because Peppermint Butler is but a 16th as big as the shell that's on this snail's back, and he's sentient. So would they be related? Not all candy from the Candy Kingdom is sentient, right? Just some of it is,
right? Yeah,
yeah. Whatever Princess Bubblegum kind of makes sentient. I'm so excited to learn about Peppermint Butler, because if he was created by, I guess I'll get the whole backstory, but oh man, he's just so weird, and I can't wait to learn where he came from. He seems to have lived a whole life of weirdness. He's friends with the world of the dead. I know, I've seen that episode. Oh, we're getting off track, but anyway, yes, the full. This is a great episode. That's my deep dive. Not so deep this time, but really cool. And I think it makes this episode emotionally resonant and happy. And it's cool. It has a nice ending. The ending, though, so the slugs come. The house is now intact. They're fixing it up. Finn and Jake have tool belts on. And BMO is there watching the two slugs make out, chanting, "Go, go, go." And Jake's like, "BMO, stop." And then BMO turns up his volume all the way, and then just
what a jerk.
Yeah.
BMO's always a jerk.
This is really funny, BMO, though. I loved this. I love that BMO.
Yeah. And then so the way the episode ends is Finn and Jake are like, "Oh, BMO," in that cliche sitcom way.
Yeah.
And you know what I've been watching? I actually just finished watching The Big Bang Theory, which is not a good show.
What? Wait. You watched the whole series of The Big Bang Theory?
Yeah, over the last few months.
Why?
Yeah, so I always have a show, a bullshit show that just some random, usually easy to be on in the background kind of sitcom that I'll play on one screen while I do work on the other screen.
Okay. Now the concept of this bullshit show, I think, would be the same for you, as I'm sure our listeners do this. I don't do this, but I've now learned that a lot of people in my life have a bullshit show, but it's for a lot of people, it seems to be like Friends or The Office. The Office seems to be the country, our millennials bullshit show, where they just put it on in the background every single night. Like,
yeah, I try to switch it up.
Well, that's respectable. Honestly, it weirds me out that I've had now 3 or 4 roommates in my time, like literally 3 or 4 roommates that watch the same show every night as they go to bed. Some of them might be listening, and I don't think you're weird. I just think the fact that you watch the same show for 10 years in a row is weird when you could be watching a show, even a terrible show. Like, just watch a new show. Like, The Office isn't that good. Boom! Hot take. The Office isn't that good. I'm standing up now. This is my stand-up. The Office isn't that good. Look, it's better than Big Bang Theory. It's better than a lot of shows. It's a good show. But it is not 10 years of your life every night type of show.
No.
I don't know what is.
The Office was fine. I didn't have anything to dislike about it. But it's not like, you know...
I have lots of thoughts on The Office.
It's not an achievement in the art of American sitcoms. Like,
it did popularize the mockumentary for better or worse, because that format I think has just been done so far that it's dead now. What I have lots of...
It mainstreamed it.
Yeah.
Because you had those other movies, what's his face, that does those Best in Show.
Oh, yeah, Christopher Guest.
Yeah.
Been doing that shit since the 80s.
Right.
I mean, there's that. There's also, I mean, you know, Sacha Baron Cohen in a lot of ways was doing like a sort of a mockumentary with characters. You know, there's a great mockumentary show called Dog Bites Man in the early 2000s on Comedy Central. Now, Dog Bites Man was started by Larry Charles, who directed he directed Seinfeld, and then he directed a lot of Sacha Baron Cohen stuff in the Ali G Show. Then his next project after the Ali G Show was Dog Bites Man. And what he did is he got together a fake newscast. It was, and in the newscast was Matt Walsh, founder of UCB, Andrea Savage from I'm Sorry and a Million Things You've Seen, A.D. Miles, who's now the head writer for the last entire run of Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, and Zach Galifianakis. And it was the 4 of them as a fake news TV show in this like mockumentary setting, but they were going and interacting with real people as these characters, sort of like Ali G style. I'm going off on a tangent, but that's a very cool show that you might want to check out. But anyway, the Office, I know we should be talking about The Big Bang Theory because there's way more problems with The Big Bang Theory. It's just a far worse show than The Office. So should I save my Office rant, because I could go on The Office and my problems with it. I mean, we're here, we could do it, but
we don't need
that.
Go down that road.
No. How was The Big Bang Theory? What did you take away at the end of it?
Well, okay. The show starts and ends very differently. It's 12 seasons long. And one of the, like, I had seen some of it here and there, like over the last, like, started airing, 13, 14 years ago. Yeah. I'd seen some of it, but watching like the early seasons,
whole adult lives that show has been on.
Yeah, right. It's like so very obvious what a male show it is. Like,
dude,
I think that's a pretty common criticism, that it's like there's just like misogyny everywhere, and it's not like charming at all. But the major takeaway that I realized that I had from The Big Bang Theory when I watched this episode of Adventure Time is it sort of conditioned me to predict what the scene ending jokes were going to be. Is there like a name for that? You know, like the last joke that someone says and the studio audience laughs and then it like does a scene change?
Oh, I don't know. Is it a tag on the scene?
I don't. I'm sure there's like a technical term for what that's called. But the thing about that final joke of the scene is that it doesn't have to be funny.
Oh, but people will laugh because it's the end of the scene and that's the rhythm.
Right. Exactly. And The Big Bang Theory has so many scene changes. They do this little like a graphic overlay as they switch from scene to scene, so that it positions every joke to be the end of a scene, so you think it's funny, but it's really not at all.
Yeah, because that is a laugh point. And
yeah, and there's so many like just bad jokes that get the laugh track simply because it's going into another scene.
Yeah,
and I realized like I would think that the scene was about to end in The Big Bang Theory a lot because someone just told a joke that didn't land, and yet there was still a raucous laugh track. Wow. And then the scene continued, and I was like, oh, the scene's going on longer than I am conditioned to believe it should.
Yeah. Dude, great criticism.
I got really keyed into that thing. So I saw this, the end of this Adventure Time episode where they're like, oh, BMO, which is the stereotypical sitcom scene ender, which isn't a funny joke, but it's something that sitcom characters would do. And it's not the last gag of the episode. There's like a PS gag where the gross snail slime gets squirted all over BMO, and that was funny.
They're almost subverting that norm, that like trope of sitcoms with just something really gross. It's almost like a fuck you to it. That's great. Oh, that was a great rant. That was a great moment, dude. I love that. You know, and I'm still shocked you made it through all that show. At this point in my life, I don't like to watch things that I'm not really enjoying. But, recently I heard somebody say, taste is what you enjoy, but taste is also what you don't enjoy. And watching things that you don't enjoy is kind of cool. I have, living in Brooklyn, in Williamsburg, has sort of like, I'm in the bubble and I'm not interacting with enough things that aren't me or I don't like. Do you know what I mean? Like, because like when you're in suburbia and there's like something you're like, okay, that's not me. It kind of like calibrates you, and it feels weird when I walk out of my apartment and 3 cars drive by just blasting Tame Impala. And I love Tame Impala. Seen him like 6 times. I saw him on the Lonerism tour, man, like at Music Hall with like half full van. But like it's still weird to be in that zone. So I've too have like experimented watching things that aren't me just to like know what's going on in the world and reinforce like my point of view in the world. Like I'll watch a Ben Shapiro video on YouTube and I hate it, but it's like, okay, that's out in the world. I'm over here. Okay. I know where you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, for what it's worth, I do like sitcoms, like whether it's multi-camera or single camera, laugh track or not. Like it's something that is enough of an American trope that just having it in and around my senses as I'm doing other things is a thing that centers me a little bit in being able to be productive and being familiarized with what's happening around me, not being anxious.
It feels good, man. Like
it's pretty low stakes.
Yeah.
And like watching, I usually, have like 1 or 2 like heavy shows that I'll be watching, maybe like hour-long dramas that I'm invested in the story. And then I'll have like a bullshit show that's usually like a half-hour sitcom. And then I'll have like a cartoon. So like I could be watching like 4 different shows at any given time. And I'll just like rotate through different ones.
That's cool. I mean, we talked about this. My friends of mine have done this. I think it's for similar reasons, but like I've had friends watch all of Cheers or Friends.
Yeah, I never watched that one.
Yeah, Cheers or Mary Tyler Moore Show, or even like, All in the Family or Married with Children. Like if I was a more common TV watcher, I would probably just try all. It's kind of like listening to music where you're like, okay, I like this genre of music. Like, why don't I go through and see like the building blocks? And I feel like the sitcom's kind of like that. Like I would like to, it's like, oh, I like reggae, so I'm going to listen to reggae from different eras and stuff. Like it'd be kind of cool to do that with sitcoms and be like, let's see how this developed. And like, oh, like these tropes were established here. And oh, that's where that character comes from.
Yeah. The other one, the bullshit show I watched before starting Big Bang Theory was How I Met Your Mother.
Yes.
And I had seen that one, all the way through a couple times.
How's it holding up?
I think it gets criticism for not holding up well at all.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it would. Like I watched it all. Like I think after the first 4 or 5 seasons that come out, I watched it like at the University of Delaware when I was like a junior, and then I started watching it as it came out. And I fucking loved it, like everyone did when it came out. Like it was really funny. But now thinking back on it, and you think about Barney and a lot of the jokes and the viewpoint, and you're kind of like, huh?
Yeah. Well, so I think that's a general consensus, is that it was ultra popular on when it was on, and then it has not left a good legacy afterwards. And I still like it, but there are like a lot of problems that I noticed on this last watch through. It had been a few years since I had watched it, and basically every season has at least one transphobic joke that is just like, why are we like still trying to make this gag? And the Barney misogyny, like, trope that runs throughout the entire show. I always thought that there was meta humor to it, because Neil Patrick Harris is gay, and
they do kind of explore the sadness of Barney and like with the root of where it comes from, and those things.
Yeah. But I didn't start watching the show when the show started, and I didn't realize how far back it went. Neil Patrick Harris didn't come out publicly until after the first season had aired.
Oh.
So that meta humor that I thought was written into the character actually wasn't part of the intention.
Yeah.
And I guess I had like sort of reframed it in my mind to think like, oh, everyone always knew that
this a lot of
character was played by a gay actor, so it doesn't. So I think maybe like they adapted his character to reflect that a little bit more.
And the times did start changing as the show went on. And there, like I was just talking about how as the show goes on, part of the joke is that Barney's acting this way, but it's sad. Like this isn't the way someone should be acting, right? And that comes along as the show goes on. But if memory serves, those first couple seasons, that's not really the viewpoint of the Barney jokes. Like the viewpoint is that this guy's kind of tight. Like he's living the hyper masculine, take all prisoners, fuck all chicks, get all money stuff that we kind of like want to see lived out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it didn't seem like there was enough irony.
No, that's what it is.
Barney.
Yes. And also like in that show too, it's hard. Sometimes it's like a show can just be a story, and it doesn't have to like reflect what you want to see the characters do. But like, just seeing Allison Hannigan's character want to be an artist, and just seeing her journey through that, as I guess we're both artists of a sort, and just to see like her talk about the journey and not do anything about it, then finally try and fail. And then the way she comes to terms with it is like, we're not all meant to be like, it's just her giving up. I always thought that was a very interesting storyline that I hadn't seen. And sometimes I don't like that, but then also like maybe that's good. Do you know about that? You know that storyline I'm talking about?
Yeah. There's also like just the general preoccupation of the entire show towards the goal of being married and starting a family.
And that is it. It's like, and it's like she's giving that up so she can be with Marshall, but she doesn't like have to. And I don't think Marshall's really asking her to, but it seems that she's resigned herself to being this sort of way or living this sort of life or being a mom. So she's like giving up on her artistic ambitions before she ever really sees them. And it's encouraged by Ted. Like he encourages that even more so than Marshall. And I don't know, that always just sort of, I'm like, wait, what is this show trying to communicate right now? Like, I don't like that. Why is that the end all be all for all these characters that they have to get married and have the kid? Like,
on this last watch through, it became just really apparent to me, like some of the core values of the show that I had maybe not keyed into in years past, that I just did not resonate with. The thing that I really like about the show, which could have been done in any other show, was the narrative and how the narrative was presented in a nonlinear way.
Oh yeah.
The whole structure of the unreliable narrator like weaving stories in and out.
Well, thanks for bringing up the positive aspects of it too, because I immensely enjoyed watching the show for how much shit I'm talking on it.
Yeah, it's and I did like the ending. The ending got a lot of shit, and I think that's the real reason why its mainstream legacy hasn't lived on, is because people got so sour about the ending, not because people realized it was misogynistic and transphobic and all these other shitty issues with it. But yeah, the ending I felt was true to the real narrative that they were telling, and a lot of people just wanted it to be a happy ending. That was a little bit more surface level.
Yeah.
But
the true narrative also is like, you think the show, and this is why it didn't bother me, is like the show wasn't about him finding this person. The show was about his journey through his 20s when you're searching for your way, or you're in your 30s, like, and that's really the thing. The thing about now, if I go back to, are you finished on this? Because I had a big bang.
Yeah. We don't. I don't know.
That when I was in New York, I don't know if I said this on the pod or even I told you, the podcast. I don't like saying pod. Is that acceptable? That abbreviation, or is that cringe?
I don't know. Do people say it like?
I'm gonna be on. I got to do the pod. I'm gonna be. We need some guests on the pod. I'm fine with it. Okay, so I don't think I said this, but when I was in New York, I got some drinks. I drank a lot more than I have been all quarantine. I've been pretty sober. But I woke up and I was extremely hungover. And the whole time I was in New York, I watched every single episode of Drunk History on YouTube, which is funny. But I woke up, put on a Drunk History, and let YouTube just run, which is dangerous because it'll get you into weird places. But what came up while I was just in that haze of hungover and my laptop's in my bed was a half-hour video essay on the misogyny of Big Bang Theory. And I've never really watched the show, but I watched that whole video essay, and it was incredibly well crafted with scenes from every single season of the show. And he breaks down the misogyny baked into every single male main character on the show, and why it's like particularly bad, and how it's saying that like some of their misogynist humor is okay or even funny because it's playing against the masculine stereotype. When at the end of the day, it's like, just because you're not this ideal, like, like this jockey way, like, doesn't mean because you're like a nerd that the misogyny is funny. And
right.
And what they did is they were playing some of Sheldon's like rants, and I guess he's sort of emotionally like void or whatever. They're playing some of the shit he was saying to women, like, I would never hire you. I can never hire a woman. I can't hire someone that bleeds once a month and trust it to, like, he was like saying stuff like that. And it was getting laughs and ooh, and I was like, what? And they were talking about it, and it's like, okay, it's a show, but then they were talking about the greater impact of like misogyny that's like kind of baked into like nerd culture, and they were talking about like in the tech industry how there's a ton of misogyny sort of like that, and they actually played one of his rants and then played a leaked audio tape of like executive at Google, and they put it next to each other. And they're like, tell me which one's Sheldon and tell me which one is an executive at Google. And it was like, you couldn't tell. And it's like, whoa, so is this really a joke? Is it funny? Should we be like normalizing this sort of humor in the most popular sitcom of the last like 2 decades? I don't think so. And it was really crazy. Like,
yeah, the show goes on so long that you notice when they start correcting some of those things, but they never get all the way. Yeah. Like after 12 years, like I imagine there were a few conversations where like the show creator, someone was like, "Hey Chuck, maybe we can tone it down with the with the misogyny," and he'll be like, "What misogyny, dude?" That show creator, Chuck Laurie, he's like peak boomer. Like he's an old guy.
Got it.
Like he's like some old straight dude, and he has vanity cards at the end of every episode.
What?
And
what is that?
Like every little production company that has a part in the show. Yeah. So he has a card that plays at the end of the credits, and it's different every episode. So he's got like hundreds of these where he just like writes some thoughts that he has. It's like a little blog.
Oh.
And some of the shit that he's written on those, like where I obviously didn't read all of these, but like where I just hit a point where I can push pause on my on the streaming window and switch projects on the work window. And I've seen a bunch of random ones. And I was like, what the fuck is this guy thinking? Where he hates Trump. Fine, good. But he's still like that old boomer mentality.
That Bill Maher sort of mentality of, okay, yeah, Trump sucks, but PC culture, we got to watch out for that.
He's not really like that, but it's like the old clueless, staunch Democrats, like thinking they're doing the right thing, but they're really still just being a fucking asshole. Like they're just being nice about it.
Wow.
Yeah, he like really misses the mark on a lot of shit. Like he talks about like transphobia and racism on some of those things that I've seen. I'm just like, dude, you're totally out of your element on this. Maybe figure some of this out before you put this on a freaking network sitcom.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's funny. I don't know, man. Like, I do think, like, I know that people say it's comedy shows and these things, but I think that stuff informs people because, like, we watch that shit so much. Like, it's informing your morality. Like, there's no real way around that. Like, what you think is funny is informed by the media you're consuming and the cultural context in which you live in. And, like, I firmly remember watching comedy shows and learning, like, oh, that's a funny joke. Like, if somebody is gay, that is funny. You know what I mean? Like, when we were, like, kids, they're like, oh, I'm watching Conan O'Brien, and they just insinuated that Max Weinberg likes to fuck guys at the gym, and everyone laughed. Okay, that is a joke that you can make, and we all have agreed it's funny. I know I sound like an alien, like, figuring out life, but, like, when you're, like, 10, you're piecing together the world, and, like, that shit seeps out there into, like, how people are interacting with each other.
Right. These network shows, whether, and it's old late night or whether it's sitcoms, like, that's the real mainstream. And as much as I like the format, it is somewhat of a shock to tune into that kind of show and just be forced to remember that the mainstream American thinks this way now.
Yeah, I know, because it's also a reflection of that. Like, I think some of the jokes, they seem lazy, but it's like it's
so lazy. That's the thing. It's like you're not even doing good work in comedy.
And I think it's like a circular kind of a thing sometimes where it's like, these are jokes that are funny. They tell those jokes. That's what's funny. And then they tell jokes that they know people think are funny. You know what I mean? Where it's like, it's not even like a joke anyone would think is funny, but it sounds like a funny joke.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's phrased.
Quick, let's change the scene and put a laugh track on.
Exactly. I should also say is that I love Conan O'Brien. Like, that is so formative to who I am and my sense of humor. And Conan has done a really great job evolving with the times while still being irreverent. So I just want that out there. I love Conan. I listen to his podcast. I watch old episodes. He's like one of my heroes in life. Like, to meet Conan, be on the Conan show, to play on it. I used to watch like LimeWire rips of bands playing on Conan, like nobody's business. I TiVo'd it every day and watched it for years in high school.
This makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. I believe this story that you're telling me 100%.
But nothing's perfect. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I've never really gotten into Conan or the late night scene like that.
Yeah, I like the late night format is kind of cool too.
I think it's much more enjoyable when it's parodied, like the Eric Andre show.
Yeah.
I freaking love that.
Yeah.
Like late night, like parodies are awesome. Like the Comedy Bang Bang show.
Yeah. Oh, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
There's the Larry Sanders Show. Have you ever watched that?
No, I haven't.
That is well. I got to watch more Gary Shandling, but Gary Shandling. Okay, there's also the Gary Shandling Show, which. Okay, so he was a stand-up comedian, very successful, was like on Johnny Carson. Then he got the opportunity to do his show, but instead of doing a sitcom, he did a meta sitcom, like in the 80s or late 70s or something. Like, and it's bonkers. Like, it's a complete meta, like, takedown, like fucking with all the tropes of a sitcom. And then after that ended, he went and did the Larry Sanders Show. because I think everyone thought like, dude, you just kill it on Carson. Like you should take over and do a late night show. But instead of taking over and doing his own late night show, he made a show about a host. Like it's basically like 30 Rock, but it was done like a decade before 30 Rock. And it's like single camera. So it's not a sitcom. Like there's no audience and there's no laugh track. But like no comedy had ever been really shot that way before that show. And it was done on HBO. And it's just satirizing the whole late night and showing the ego and the vapidness. That was like one of Judd Apatow's first like big writing gigs and directing gigs was on that show. I don't know. It's like an informative piece of comedy, but very cool. I love Eric Andre's show. I've been watching clips of that all week too.
One of my aspirations is to be a band leader on a parody talk show.
It's cool.
Like I want to be Reggie Watts.
Dude, Reggie Watts is really cool. So I think it's really impressive is that like he established on Comedy Bang Bang, he's the leader of James Corden, but on Comedy Bang Bang, he established like a real rhythm and pace in the way that he used music in the show and the way he interfaced with Scott Aukerman. And it's interesting because it became so foundational to the show that after he leaves and Kid Cudi and then Weird Al are the band leaders, they're still just sort of doing Reggie Watts.
I know. And the Kid Cudi was fine. I'm not going to talk any shit about Kid Cudi.
It's cool that Kid Cudi did it. Like that made me just happy.
Weird Al was too good. Like you could tell that he put the most effort into his music production.
Yeah.
And it lost a little bit of the off the cuff energy that Reggie Watts brought to it.
Reggie Watts has this undefinable energy to him that is really hard to recreate. And I mean,
it's like improvisation is not enough of a word to describe what Reggie Watts does.
but what's so great is like, even on a show like that's heavily edited, multiple takes, the energy and intent and like good timeness that's flowing through each of his improvisations is alive and well. It's just so crazy and hard to do. You know what's really cool about Reggie Watts is that he was kicking around a long time before he started kind of doing comedy as like a singer. My friends actually saw him do his loop thing. This is before he got funny. He did a tour opening for Soul Live.
Oh, wow.
Way long ago, or at least a couple shows. And I had multiple friends who saw Reggie Watts open for Soul Live, do his looping thing, and get booed off the stage. Straight up, full on, probably playing to 1,000 people, booed off the stage. And my friend being like, he was awful. And I don't know if he's ever talked about that, maybe, but like, then he, did lots of drugs and like made it funny, and then like has had such an incredible singular career. I just found that kind of inspiring.
Yeah, I became aware of him after leaving Delaware, and I saw him live first in 2011.
Oh, in Texas?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's cool. That's early.
Yeah, it was definitely before he was like on things.
Yeah.
He was, I guess, just a solo artist trying to get a name for himself.
Yeah, stand-up comedian.
Not attached to anything, yeah. But he was amazing. Oh my gosh. Because like, at that point I hadn't seen anything live. I'd only, heard recordings, like his studio stuff.
Yeah.
Which is, they were funny, but, they were like composed and produced songs. And his live set was totally improvised, and I was blown away.
Yeah. Like that's where the magic is. Like, and seeing him, like I'd much rather just see him do 50 improvised off the cuff fuck around things on Comedy Bang Bang than listen to like one like produced Reggie Watts song. Cause that it's just whatever he does just shines so brightly in that forum.
Yeah. I'm not as adept at improvising as that, obviously, but I would love to go the Weird Al route.
Yeah.
And totally overproduce and put a shit ton of effort into that. If there are any comedians, late night TV hosts listening, I'll be your band leader.
Let Adventure Guys be the demo tape, because you were killing it, my friend, and you put a lot of work in. I will say I Reggie Wattsed my 2 songs. Where I was like, okay, crack the knuckles. I have to record 2 songs. That was for episode 9, everybody, is that I'd intended to produce them well, but due to this like insane work schedule I was talking about up top, I like just fell incredibly behind. The episode came out a day later than it was supposed to because I didn't record the songs. So I literally wrote each of those songs in like 10 minutes. Miscellanea Mania and the congratulations songs, and then I went to the piano and like recorded on my phone. I felt like it kind of betrayed the work and fidelity that you had put in, Eric. Did you feel that way, or did it play for fun and laughs?
I think we managed to edit it in a way that was funny.
Okay. And I luckily I listened to I led in the congratulations song with a bit of a funny like the proper thing. I actually like the congratulations song for how fast I came up with it. Do you like it?
Bad.
Did I do okay?
Yeah.
Your silence speaks volumes.
Speaking of congratulations about seeing the snail, do you want to play Did You See the Snail?
Oh yeah.
Nick, did you see the snail?
I saw a snail, obviously, but not the snail. No. Eric, did you see the snail?
Yes, I saw the snail.
Sean saw the snail too.
You watched it with him?
No, he watched it on his own and like saw it and was like, "Dude, I saw the snail," and then I didn't see it. I think I've been taking lots of notes and thinking a lot. And I end up like not looking at the screen enough because I'm like typing into my phone like, he's representing the journey that all young men go through as they discover. You know what I mean? Like I'm writing that and then the snail runs by.
Yeah, there were a shit ton of snails in this episode, but only one that counted.
Where was he?
And he was hanging out on the table in the little dinghy boat that is attached to the treehouse. And as Snorlax is taking Finn and Jake on their little trip out to the grasslands to meet chicks. Yeah. There's a shot of Finn in the boat and the snail's just hanging out there on the table.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, glad you saw it.
Yeah, Nick, play me that congratulations song.
Wait, so that stands? Do I have to write another one? Does it keep rolling or I thought the wager ended at one song, or is the wager now rolling?
We can play the song you already wrote. I mean, it's for me and Sean, and it was just admitted to be recorded on your phone in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So if that's what you want to roll with.
No, I don't. Although Sean saw it. So, all right. Well, let's see. So everyone knows, like we're recording this on a Friday. The episode's going to come out on Tuesday. So I don't know what the next few days hold for me, but this is the product of it. Here you go. One second. I'm sorry.
Congratulations, my friend. Saw the snail and I can't even begin to pretend to know where the guy was. Not till next week comes.
Eric Dano.
You're the champion.
That's what I had. That's what I had in me this week.
Okay, so let's jump into our
our new titled section called Miscellanea Mania. And I like this song, right? Do you think this song's pretty good, right?
This song is good. We need to record a real version of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But the bones are there.
Yeah. You think we'll get that done in the next couple of days?
Ooh, God, I hope so.
Play that Miscellanea Mania theme song.
See what we got.
There's things you may not know. Those Eric and Nick will show you all the trivia in Miscellanea
Mania. Slow love, baby.
Oh, okay. So there's apparently another Easter egg that gets inserted into these Adventure Time episodes that I wasn't previously aware of.
Ooh, this is good.
Yeah, so every episode has the snail.
Sure.
But across the series, a handful of episodes have something called a fill face, which is just a drawing of one of the guys that worked on the show. This guy, Phil Rinda.
Okay.
He was a character designer on the show for a few seasons, and apparently he just made a really funny, excited face that everyone on the show really liked. So they drew him into random spots on the episode.
I'm looking at the Phil face, and I know that face, but I don't know where, which means I've just seen it in the background, and it's subliminally implanted on my mind.
Right. So in this episode, it was on the newspaper that Finn was reading in the opening shot.
Oh.
We've seen it before. Finn draws it on the wall in It Came from the Nightosphere.
Yes, I remember thinking, what is that face?
So yeah, I hadn't heard about that Easter egg until now. Actually, with the Easter eggs, with the snail even, I didn't know anything about it the first time I watched the show, and then I heard about every episode has a snail, and the last time I watched through the complete show, I knew it was in there, and yet I still almost never saw it.
Wow!
Out of 283 episodes, I remember I saw the snail 3 times.
That's nothing, dude. You're seeing them all over the place in this episode. Like, we're 10 in, you've already seen the snail like 3 or 4 times. You're woke. You've awoken.
I guess that's it. Even of the 3 instances that I saw the snail in my last watch through, I forget where 2 of them were. Mm-hmm. One of them I remember, and when we watch that episode, that I'll give you that one. If you don't see it and I see it, then it would be cheating because I remember where that one is.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's a good piece of trivia. Yeah. Do you got anything else?
So yes, Biz Markie guested on this episode. Apparently, he's not credited correctly. On the credits, it's shown as John DiMaggio voices Snorlax. Which is wrong. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've seen a few end credit screens with incorrect voice casts.
Weird. It goes by so fast, and I'm so distracted by the amazing song that I don't catch that. Yeah. There's a few episodes we've watched so far where I've seen like Nectar credited, and it's not Nectar is not in the episodes. Whoa, weird.
And even on this one, Snorlax is credited incorrectly to John DiMaggio, but also Pendleton Ward as the forest wizard is on that list, and that character doesn't show up.
It says that in the end credits?
Yeah.
Weird. That's going to be infuriating for the people who work on the show.
Right? I don't know what the deal with that is. This is obviously like a thing that happens more than a couple times.
You know what that's working inside of a corporate structure. What that sounds like is that since that's just a thing that gets tacked on every end of every episode, it's the same format, it's the same animation, it's the same song. So theoretically, the text should just change. So I imagine that the animators are not overseeing that. That is more somebody in a different department has to update the end titles for all their shows. And it sounds like whoever that person is not doing their job correctly, or like things change, or like the order of the episodes change and the order of the end screen didn't change. Like maybe it's something like that.
Yeah, I don't know, but our boy Biz doesn't get credit.
He gets it now.
Yeah. It makes total sense that he's in the beatboxing episode.
Yeah.
You ever see Yo Gabba Gabba?
Oh yeah.
Where he's got like a segment where he teaches kids how to beatbox.
Yeah. That's great. I love that. That came out around the same time as this, right? Or a couple years earlier, maybe. Maybe 2 or 3.
I think it was earlier.
Yeah.
We were definitely in college at peak Yo Gabba Gabba time, because I remember the Pick It Up ska song was going around when we were in college.
Yeah, I definitely think I saw in Yo Gabba Gabba came out when I was in high school, which would have been like 2005 or something. But it's like of the same sort of era. That's cool. We got some good trivia in here. Should we talk about? We received a couple emails this week.
Here, let's play that Did You See the Mail theme song.
Mail. Mail.
I didn't know that existed. Oh, thank you, Eric. First piece of mail that came to did you see the mail at gmail.com. If you would like to be featured on this segment, send us some mail. We'll credit you. First thing, Sean Harvey. This is both, looks like the subject and the body is simply fuck lumpy space princess. He was here last show and he did not enjoy her, but it didn't have that tone to it, did it?
I don't remember that particular quote.
No, me neither.
His feelings have escalated in the past few days.
Oh, yeah. I think he had some time to really reflect on that. Dan Ford, my college roommate, we watched How I Met Your Mother together, I think. He sent us some email. What's up, Dan? Thanks for being an active listener. And he liked the deep dive because he's been subject to my deep dive brain for a good 15 years of friendship now. So he's conditioned.
Nick's deep dive brain.
Yeah.
Want me to read this one here from Wilson?
Oh yeah. I know Wilson, by the way.
Oh, you know Wilson.
I know Wilson.
Okay, so Wilson says, Dear Adventure Guys, let me start off by saying I love the podcast. I've recently started rewatching Adventure Time because of your podcast and have a wager for you.
Whoa. I would say at this point, Wilson, what's up, buddy? I have not seen Wilson, I think, since 2011.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in 9 years. And we hung out in the years 2009, 2010. He was definitely an early person into Adventure Time who hipped me to its magic. But I haven't seen this guy in 9 years, and I used to enjoy seeing him when I went to Philadelphia. What's up, buddy? Okay, read the rest of this guy's email.
All right, he's got a wager. So he says, I will watch the generated episode for the next week, and if I see the snail and you don't, Eric must make a song for the next episode about how awesome I am for seeing the snail.
Oh.
But if either of you see the snail and I do not, I must make a song about how awesome you guys are for seeing the snail.
Oh.
Wilson.
Wilson. What a wager. I like that I am not on the hook for a song in this wager. I think that's best for everybody.
Yeah, so
Eric, what do you think?
I'm gonna decline this offer.
Why?
I could think of a few reasons offhand why this is a very bad idea. First reason, you're totally overlooked, Nick. I don't think that's fair.
Hey, Wilson, what's up, man? I guess he is respecting you up to the point that the wager was made. You had composed all music for the show.
Yeah, I mean, I could see this setting a dangerous precedent
of you having to write songs every week for our listeners.
Yeah, and if I'm being honest with myself, that is absolutely something that would happen to me. Where
this is behavior that you do to yourself. You sign yourself. Yeah. This is how you end up with 16 ska cover albums.
Right. It's completely plausible that the rest of my life would just be a downward spiral into writing snail songs for random people. So I think we better nip this in the bud right here.
These are good ideas. Well, I would like to. Wilson's great, and he's an active listener. He's listened to all of the episodes. Clearly, I would like to involve Wilson somehow. Can we come back to our friend here with a retort, some other way that we can involve him, or make the wager workable?
Can
we?
Do you want to do a side pot bet with him?
Oh, me? Yeah.
I'm not going to be involved with this.
I know.
Also, hey, how do we verify whether Wilson's telling the truth or not, right? There's no governing body to authenticate snail sightings.
Yeah, not like how we have in Did You See the Snail, which is concrete and it's we've got an outside advisor. You don't see them, but they're on the pod. They watch us. This one person flies from Texas to New York, watches us to see the show, and then oversees the pod. Their name's Jerry. What's up, man? You can talk onto the mic if you want, Jerry. He doesn't want to. Jerry's humble. He does his job. He oversees it, but we can't fly him to Connecticut, where I believe Wilson lives. Here, look, Wilson, we're going to come up with an idea for you. Maybe we'll call him into the show, or I'm going to come up with a side bet for him. But thanks for listening, man. Eric, I think your reasons are valid.
Okay. All right. Well, good episode of Did You See the Mail? Let's pick an episode to watch for next week.
Fire up that generator. I imagine that has a pull cord like a lawnmower.
It does. You got it.
Oh, what are we gonna watch next week? What are we gonna watch? Let's go! It's the episode generator.
Episode 77. We've got season 3, episode 25, Dad's Dungeon.
Ooh, season 3, episode 29, you said?
Season 3, episode 25.
25.
Dad's Dungeon.
I feel like I may have seen this episode. Are there a couple? There's a couple dungeon episodes, right?
There's a lot of dungeon episodes. I really like the dungeon episodes, actually. It's sort of an important part of the Adventure Time heroing lore that they just do dungeons.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of focus on it. Like the dungeon episodes are spaced nicely throughout the show, and they're all pretty good.
I haven't seen this, but this sounds like a great episode that I'm very excited to watch.
It is. I'm pretty sure this gives a little bit of backstory into Finn and Jake growing up as brothers.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. That I've been waiting for that. I think I said that last ep. Sweet.
Yeah. Cool. That'll be a good
Algebraic.
one. Yeah, this was a good app.
Great app. I want to Wilson, Danford, Sean, our regular active listeners. Thank you. I think Haley is another one. If you're actively listening, send us an email. We'll love your feedback. If you're enjoying it, rate the podcast on whatever platform you're on. That helps us out.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Tell one friend about it that you think might like it. That helps us. And then, as Eric mentioned, we have the old little like support function on anchor.com/Adventure Guys Podcast. So kick us a penny or two.
All right. Peace out, y'all.
Bye. Come along with me to a place on what is it? Under a tree? Is that the lyrics? Place
like
under a tree.
What a great song, right?
Yeah, every time it plays, I tell Sean, I think it has something to do with the context of when it's played, but I was like, I'm always convinced that it's the greatest song I've ever heard.
It's got that like dampened snare pickup is a perfect comedic episode end signal.
Yeah, and something like that. And Sean and I were talking about we love how it's recorded, which it's definitely just like a 57 just pointed at a drum set, you know? Like it's great.
So Adventure Time and Steven Universe both have really great end credit songs.
I like the end credit song more of Adventure Time more than I like the theme song.
Yes. 100%. Also, Craig of the Creek has a great end credit song.
Wow.
OKKO has a Rebecca Sugar end credit song, but it's like easily like not even close to any of the other Cartoon Network end credit songs. It's weird.
Yeah, there must be. I wonder if that is something that came from like Cartoon Network, because Nickelodeon shows, like, I don't remember a lot of their end credit songs. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm wondering if that's like one note from the network when they're developing their shows that are like, listen, like you should make sure your end credit song slaps.